You are going to hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. At the end of the real test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Now, turn to section 1. Section 1. You will hear a conversation between a customer and a clerk about furniture information. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Now, we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Thank you for calling your Best Furniture Information Line. In order to deal with all calls effectively, we offer you a number of options. Please listen carefully and press your required number. If you want to know about our latest prices, please press 1. If you want to hear about our new special offers, please press 2. If you want to make a complaint, please press 3.
Good afternoon. What can I do for you?
Good afternoon. I'd like to know some furniture prices.
Fine. What about furniture would you like to know?
First of all, I'd like to know about beds. I'd like to buy a new bed.
Yes, and what kind of bed do you want?
Do you have a king-size one?
Of course. What colour do you like?
I prefer white.
Let me check. Yes, we have a new one from France that came in last week.
How much is it?
It is £189.
Do you have any discounts at the moment?
If your total cost is over £800, you will get a 15% discount.
Great.
Do you want this bed?
Yes, and I need a light.
Where will you fix it in your house?
My bedroom.
On the ceiling?
Yes. Oh, I hope it's in white too.
We have a set of white furniture. How about the light?
How much is it?
It is very cheap, only £69, if you take the bed.
OK, I'll take them both.
Fine. And anything else?
I want to buy a new dinner table for my dining room.
What's your requirement?
Do you have a round one?
Yes.
And with 4 chairs, not 6. That's better.
Right. Round with chairs?
What's the price of it?
The domestic one is £229, but the imported one is £369.
The same style?
Yes.
I'll take the first one.
OK.
The last thing that I need is a wardrobe.
A wardrobe? Oh, we have some new styles.
Really? I prefer a European design.
You are so lucky. We've got a new one yesterday that just came in from Italy.
Great. How much is it?
It is £399.
A little expensive.
Yes, but it is white.
Really? That's fine. I'll take it.
A good choice. Are you a member?
Yes.
OK, can you tell me your details? Now, look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen carefully and answer questions 6 to 10. Let me take down your details first.
OK.
What's your full name?
Daniel Khan.
Could you spell the last name?
Kahn.
Right. And your address?
Hill House, 16 Dave Lane.
Could you spell the street name?
Dave.
Fine. And your contact number?
44780135.
Well, what time do you want your furniture to arrive?
How about next week?
OK. Morning or the afternoon?
Afternoon.
How about 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday?
Sunday is better.
OK, on Sunday.
Fine. How much is it altogether after the discount?
Let me see. The total price is £896. After discount is £760.
OK. May I pay by credit card?
Of course you can.
Oh, does this price include delivery fee?
Because you are our member and live not far from us, the fee is free.
That's so great.
We have a truck to deliver all your orders to your house next Sunday. Can you take down the reference number?
Yes. Please tell me.
FG0418.
Great. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
This is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Section 2. You will hear a talk on local radio about a children's theme park. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 13. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 13.
For the second in our series about locally run businesses, we meet Simon Winridge, co-founder of the hugely successful Winridge Forest Railway Park. Welcome, Simon. Now, perhaps you can begin by telling us a little bit about how it all started.
Well, during the 1970s, my wife Liz and I had just acquired 80 acres of sheep farming land, and we decided to settle down and have children. Pretty soon we had a daughter, Sarah, and a son, Duncan. The place was wonderful for the kids. They particularly loved trains and gradually built up an enormous network of miniature railway track. I began to develop larger-scale models of locomotives, but we didn't think anything more of it until I went on a trip to a theme park near Birmingham and decided we could do a much better job. So we set up a small one ourselves, based on the miniature railway, and we opened to the public for just a month that year, 1984, in July, our driest month, because our children said they didn't want our guests to have a miserable wet visit. I dealt with park business and Liz carried on with the farm work. It soon became clear that we were onto a winner. We began to extend the railway track and lay it among more interesting landscape by planting trees, which in turn attracted more wildlife, and by making cuttings through the rock. Nowadays, we're open all year round, and we're pleased to say that Winridge is one of the most popular visitor attractions in the area, with 50,000 visitors a year. 1.5 million people have been through our doors since we opened.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 14 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 14 to 20.
All these visitors mean we have had to expand our operation, and it's now a truly family concern. I'm near to retirement age, so I only concern myself with looking after the mechanical side of things, keeping the trains going. Liz now devotes all her energies to recruiting and supporting the large squadron of workers, which keep the place running smoothly. We're really pleased that, after some years away teaching, Sarah has now returned to the park and makes sure the visitors are kept fed and watered, which keeps her pretty busy, as you can imagine. Our son Duncan has been a stalwart of the park for the last 10 years, taking over from me in the area of construction. And I'll say a little bit more about that in a moment. And his new wife, Judith, has also joined the team in charge of retail. That's becoming a tremendous growth area for us. A lot of people want to buy souvenirs.
So have you finished your development of the site for the moment?
Not at all. We're constantly looking for ways to offer more to our visitors. The railway remains the central feature, and there's now 1.2 kilometres of the line laid, but we'd like to lay more. Because of the geology of the area, our greatest problem is digging tunnels, but we're gradually overcoming that. We're also very pleased with a new installation of the go-kart arena, which is 120 square metres in area. Again, the problem is the geology. We had to level the mounds on the track for safety reasons. We wanted to enable 5 to 12-year-olds to use the go-karts. And the main attraction here is the Formula One kart. We've known fights to break out over who gets it. And then, finally, to our most recent development, which is the landscape swimming pool.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now, turn to Section 3. Section 3. You will hear a conversation about a student's study. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 24. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Study Centre of Cardiff University. I am Professor Jody, your student study consultant. I know as a new student, you will meet some troubles with your studies and life. So we will have 3 consecutive lectures. Study strategies on today, social life, and local snacks on next Monday and Tuesday. I will introduce you to some study skills and answer your questions. Well, first of all, let's talk about some factors which can affect your study. What problems do you meet as a freshman?
Yes, Professor. What's the biggest difference between university and middle school regarding study?
A good question. I think the biggest difference is that a university student will have to do a lot of work on their own, such as doing research.
Do you mean we should read and think independently?
Yes, that's the first important factor of being a successful university student. Fine.
How about taking more lectures? I heard that they can help our studies. Is that right?
Some students prefer to attend more extra lectures to improve themselves, but in fact it might affect their own study. My advice is to use your holiday time. You should know how to take control of your time and work effectively.
Fine.
Another factor is to overcome your stress. Many students usually have a feeling of homesickness, particularly for overseas students. There is no family or friends here, so maybe loneliness and heavy studies can lead to great stress. So, I suggest if you come in contact with such troubles, it is a good way to make some new friends or take up some social activities on the weekends. How do we know about the social activities, Professor? You may get the activity schedule from the student union. Fine. Now, look at questions 25 to 30. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 25 to 30. Well, let's talk about some study strategies. Where should we begin?
How about listening to a lecture?
Yes, I am worried about that too. Okay, if you cannot keep up with the lecturer, why not prepare a recorder or something like that to record the lecture? Good idea. And I think you should prepare lecture materials in advance and then check your notes with other students after the lecture if you cannot take them all at the lecture.
Great. And how about presentations? Do we have to do many presentations?
Yes, you will do presentations nearly on all subject lectures.
Should we use PowerPoint?
Yes, of course. And can we choose a partner to do a presentation together? Maybe or maybe not. Sometimes you can have a group presentation, but you have to do it by yourself on most of the lectures. Okay, I know.
Professor, I know we have to spend a lot of time reading material. I want to know if we can get them from the internet.
Sometimes you can read materials at the computer at home. Really? Yes, but you must have a username and password from the computer center. Fine. And usually you will have many academic journals to read, so a proper reading method is very important.
What kind of method?
The approach I use is skimming. It means to skim the book first to see what's important and what isn't. Do we need to master a skill of analyzing reading? Yes, that's the next important method of reading. The method can help you to remember what you have read. Fine, and how about the assignment? You will write a lot of essays as your assignment. Essays? Yes.
How about the strategy of writing essays?
First, you should make a good draft plan for writing and pay attention to the deadline. Deadline? Yes. Can we extend that? You could ask your personal tutor. Fine. And before handing in your work to your tutor or department, you should do proofreading first to check form, grammar, spelling, and references.
Okay.
If you meet some other problems with your study, you can ask your tutor for help. Well, any other questions? This is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turn to section 4. Section 4. You will hear part of a lecture about an experimental design for a house. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning. In the last few lectures, I've been talking about the history of domestic building construction. But today, I want to begin looking at some contemporary experimental designs for housing. So, I'm going to start with a house which is constructed more or less under the ground. And one of the interesting things about this project is that the owners, both professionals but not architects, wanted to be closely involved, so they decided to manage the project themselves. Their chief aim was to create somewhere that was as environmentally friendly as possible. But at the same time, they wanted to live somewhere peaceful. They'd both grown up in a rural area and disliked urban life. So the first thing they did was to look for a site, and they found a disused stone quarry in a beautiful area. The price was relatively low, and they liked the idea of recycling the land, as it were. As it was, the quarry was an ugly blot on the landscape, and it wasn't productive any longer either. They consulted various architects and looked at a number of designs before finally deciding on one. As I've said, it was a design for a sort of underground house, and it was built into the earth itself, with 2 stories. The north, east, and west sides were set in the earth, and only the sloping south-facing side was exposed to the light. That was made of a double layer of very strong glass. There were also photovoltaic tiles fixed to the top and bottom of this sloping wall. These are tiles that are designed to store energy from the sun, and the walls had a layer of foam around them too to increase the insulation. Now, what is of interest to us about this project is the features which make the building energy efficient. Sunlight floods in through the glass wall, and to maximize it, there are lots of mirrors and windows inside the house. That helps to spread the light around. So that's the first thing. Light is utilized as fully as possible. In addition, the special tiles on the outside convert energy from the sun and generate some of the house's electricity. In fact, and it is possible that in future the house may even generate an electricity surplus, and that the owners will be able to sell some to the national grid. As well as that, wherever possible, recycled materials have been used. For example, the floors are made of reclaimed wood, and the owners haven't bought a single item of new furniture. They just kept what they already had. And then there's the system for dealing with the waste produced in the house. This is dealt with organically. It's purified by being filtered through reed beds which have been planted for that purpose in the garden. So the occupants of the house won't pollute the land or use any damaging chemicals. It's true that the actual construction of the house was harmful to the environment, mainly because they had to use massive amounts of concrete, one of the biggest sources of carbon dioxide in manufacturing. And, as you know, this is very damaging to the environment. In total, the house construction has released 70 tons of carbon dioxide into the air. Now that's a frightening thought. However, once the initial debt has been cleared, and it's been calculated that this will only take 15 years, this underground house won't cost anything, environmentally I mean, because unlike ordinary houses, it is run in a way that is completely environmentally friendly. So, eco-housing like this is likely to become much more.
That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers.